Hey everyone, it's Kelly from Silly Moon Quilting Co. We're going to talk today about spacing and how to create nice even spacing when you're using a ruler. Of course, one of the biggest challenges when you're quilting with rulers is lining up the rulers, and the other option, the other problem we sometimes have is spacing and achieving correct spacing. So we have a couple options, and I'm going to go over those today with you. I want to talk a little bit about Dude, which is our newest little spacing guide. So if you see on Dude here, he's got 1/8 arm, a quarter, half, 3/4, and 1 inch. So those will give you some pretty decent options for spacing. You can use Dude for marking. So for example, if I had this quilt and I wanted to make sure that I wanted to space these, space something an inch apart, I can very easily make a mark there, or 3/4 and an inch and 3/4 of an inch there. So you can see that there's lots of different options for that. The other advantage to Dude is if you're doing a flanged binding or any kind of pressing, it's very easy to have that along, so you can measure very quickly your binding, so that you make sure that things are nice and even and square, so that you know that when you've pressed it, it's exactly where you want it to be. So when you put it on your quilt, it looks nice and even. That's another option. With Dude, we actually decided to make Dude out of aluminum. There's other spacers that are on the market that are clear. The advantage to Dude, of course, being aluminum, is none of these little tiny arms are going to break off. We made them a nice cool color. They're available in a whole bunch of different colors. You can check out our site for that. If you drop Dude on the floor, you're going to hear it more than you are something clear and plastic, obviously, because it's aluminum and it's just a little bit more sturdy. And the nice thing is too, then we could do them all sorts of different colors, which means that when they're stacked on your quilt top, it's a lot easier to see. It doesn't get stuck in between fabric and too hard to see. So it makes it a lot easier to see, so you're less likely to lose it. So those are available on our site now. One of the biggest advantages, and what I use Dude the most for, is that I was finding when I was quilting a straight edge, it made it a little bit more difficult to know where I was at this end. And the reason for that is because when you're ruler quilting, the ruler butts up next to your foot, which is actually a 1/4 inch away from your needle. So there's a space at this end that you need to accommodate for if you're going to make sure that you're going to stitch straight down that ditch, or stitch straight. So by taking edge or Dude and putting it up against the ruler using the 1/4 inch arm, I can move my ruler over, and then when this arm, the other side of the arm, is up against the seam, I know that I'm nice and square. So that's going to allow me to very easily stitch in the ditch. So it makes it very easy to stitch in the ditch. So then if I want to go ahead and stitch across here, say I've decided I want to use piano keys, and this is going to be, I want to show you now the difference between Spacey and Dude. So the measurements on Dude are the measurements. So on Dude, where it says 1 inch, the space between this edge and this edge is 1 inch. So if you want to use that for spacing something, you know that that's a correct dimension. When you look at Spacey, you'll see that there's spaces here that look larger than they actually indicate that they are. So for example, this one indicates it's 2 inches, 1 3/4, 3/4, half inch, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1.5 inches. Now with these little indents, if you're familiar with our rulers, you know that we've already accommodated for the ruler foot diameter. So if I want to do spacing of, say, we'll do 1.5 inches, if I want to use my spacing tool and say 1.5 inches, I'm going to hook my ruler foot, or my ruler around my ruler foot. I'm going to use the edge of this ruler foot, the little foot here, and I'm going to stitch down. Now that's going to allow me to stitch 1.5 inches. So if I measured this dimension now from here to here, that would be 1.5 inches. And what that does is it helps me create perfect spacing for things such as splines, serpentine lines, basically anything you want to space. So if I wanted to space this and do piano keys in a border, I know that by using Spacey, whatever dimension I chose, I would automatically be that far apart. Now, the one thing with Spacey that I will recommend if you're working on a quilt and you plan to leave that quilt, take a little dry erase marker or a piece of tape and just put it around or beside whichever dimension you're using at the time, because it's very easy to get mixed up if you come back to a quilt and look at the wrong one and pick this up and use the wrong spacing dimension on there, and you don't want to do that because it'll be very noticeable once you're done your quilt. So that's just a really quick video recapping the difference between Dude and Spacey. We had a lot of people asking. Dude is a measuring tool and helps you with your rulers so that you've got that 1/4 inch and you make sure you're nice and square as to where you want to get to. And our Spacey ruler has the spacing that already has the calculations done for the ruler foot for you, so you can use it to help you stitch down a certain dimension. You could also use this if you had 1 3/4 spacing on your border or in a block and you wanted to stitch back and forth, and just use that as your piano key as well. Where Dude is going to be more of a marking tool. So if I want to mark 3/4 inch, 1 inch, or 1/8, 1 inch, but we've also got an extra arm on there for Dude, 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch. So with these two tools, all your measurements should be just perfect. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks for checking in. If you have any questions, please comment. Let me know. You can email us, message us on Facebook, message us on Instagram, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment down below and we'll answer whatever questions you might have. Thanks again and have a great day.